Welcome to Books in Sum, your go-to for bite-sized book summaries.
Beyond Order by Jordan B. Peterson. Jordan B. Peterson's self-help guide 12 Rules for Life is a call to balance the order and chaos of life. It examines the dangers of too much order and lights a path to finding the right balance. It includes 12 book bites to help you navigate the modern world, such as what makes office decor important, how evil queens leave us feeling helpless, and why you shouldn't settle for tiny plates. Social institutions are essential to an individual's success, and the world that surrounds us is complex, chaotic, and filled with possibilities. Deciding how to interact with this diverse landscape is a daunting task, so it is important to rely on outside forces to help. The most important details in this book are that by looking to outside forces, one can reduce the complexity of the world and more easily find the best course of action. This can be done by having a job, earning money, and buying items. Alchemists believe that the materia prima, or the primal element, could be transformed into anything from lead to gold to life. In the animal world, very little changes from generation to generation, and each new dolphin or chimpanzee will largely act and live like the one before it. The key idea is to imagine the person you want to be, then try to be that person. This will gradually raise your status in the social hierarchy by acquiring many friends, making lots of money, or becoming distinguished in your chosen field. The ancient Mesopotamian myth of Marduk tells the story of a god who rises above the chaos and establishes a new hierarchy of gods to create a better future. Humans can also create something new with their life, but it is important to find a vision that compels you and confront the psychological forces that hold you back. Don't settle for small pains if they can be fixed, and keep focused on your goal. Dale Roberts, Peterson's father-in-law, was known for his calm demeanor and steadfast kindness, even when facing life's cruelest adversity. However, one afternoon, he slammed his fist on the table and shouted, "I hate eating off these tiny plates." This uncharacteristic outburst was strange and comical, but it shows an important truth. If you focus on your goal, you can become the hero of your own story. Peter Pan is one of the most beloved children's characters of all time. But why is this sprightly flying boy such a universal hit? Well, he lives in a fun, exciting fantasy land. He can fly, and most of all, he has no real responsibilities. His nemesis, Captain Hook, is just the opposite, strict, authoritarian, and lives with mortal fear. Peterson's clients are a prime example of this dynamic, as their husband collected pop art obsessively, and their home became crowded with objects she hated. By the time she tried to change his habits, it was too late and they fought and divorced. The decor problem facing this couple may sound silly, but there are likely similar problems hidden away in your own life. Instead of waiting for an inevitable outburst, pay careful attention to your emotions as you go through the day and try to deal with them as they arise. Taking on responsibility is hard, but it brings meaning to life. The key message of this book is that taking on responsibility is hard, but it brings meaning to life. As a child, you have unlimited potential, but as you grow, this potential begins to fall away. This process of maturing out of childhood involves taking on an ever greater set of responsibilities, such as taking care of yourself and those around you. This requires making choices that are both good for your present self and the future selves you want to become. Making this type of trade-off is sometimes unpleasant, but it is what gives life meaning. Don't tolerate something that you hate, and take on tasks and roles that need to be filled, and find meaning and status in completing them. In Shakespeare's play Hamlet, the character Polonius advises his son to thine own self be true. This is difficult to do, as the world often asks us to act in ways that we don't agree with. However, bending our will to fit a moral framework can be harmful to ourselves and society at large. To challenge the order, one approach is to challenge the order and fortify your position by ensuring you have the resources for the fight. However, if there may be serious social repercussions to nonconformity, one can simply walk away and attend to their own responsibilities. The outcome will be better in the end. Be wary of all ideologies, especially ones with simple answers. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche declared that God is dead at the end of the 19th century, leading to the rise of new ideologies. These ideologies often used vague abstractions to explain the world and offered overly simplistic and sometimes violent solutions. This led to resentment, a hostile form of resentment, which prevents people from becoming the best versions of themselves. To combat this, it is important to commit yourself to a goal and love the results. Diamonds are incredibly special due to their repeating internal bonds and reflective surface. The stress of intense geologic activity can transform one common substance into an extraordinary one, but this principle also applies to people. Psychoanalysts believe that our love for short-term satisfaction comes from the idea, and that if we commit ourselves to a goal, we can rein in those more volatile chaotic forces. Peterson noticed this while studying for his PhD at McGill University, where he and his classmates had to spend long hours studying in the library, writing complex papers, and navigating the academic bureaucracy. By staying disciplined, they improved their writing abilities, their social skills, and their mental organization, giving them an immense sense of psychic satisfaction. The key idea is to always make room for beauty, even if it's just in one room. The most important details in this book are that art and other aesthetic endeavors are a fundamental part of our culture, and that it can communicate powerful ideas, invite important self-reflection, and open the viewer's spirit to a divine feeling of awe. Additionally, art is more than just a decorative pleasure, and it can invite you to see the world in new ways. Finally, it is important to keep your eyes open for new forms of beauty to surround yourself with, and to investigate and examine any memory that causes you pain. The first important detail in this book is that it is important to investigate and examine any memory that causes you pain, even if it is difficult, uncomfortable, or painful to recall. This is especially true of painful childhood memories, as children have a very imprecise view of the world and can only understand it in its simplest terms. One of Peterson's patients experienced this exact phenomenon when she was abused by another child as a toddler. By working through the memory as an adult, she realized her abuser had also been a child and wasn't truly in control, helping her heal and move on. To confront painful memories directly, write them down in as much detail as possible, and eventually, you will learn from them and transform a moment of pain into a chance for growth. The second important detail in this book is that successful marriages don't just arise from thin air, and that for a relationship to remain intimate, loving, and full of passion, both partners need to put in a little work. There is a traditional Scandinavian marriage ceremony that asks both participants to join hands and hold a candle aloft as they recite their vows. This symbolic ritual provides a lovely example of how marriage should work, as it involves the ongoing labor of negotiation and trust. To maintain a romantic relationship, both partners must take the time to reflect on their own desires, wants, and needs, then articulate them clearly to their loved one. This process plumbs deep psychological wells, but, more often, it's all about practicalities such as who handles which chores, when and how each person pursues a career, and which values to instill in their children. Talking through these issues explicitly will avoid problems down the line. The third important detail in this book is the importance of making time for intimate moments together and physical intimacy, and the key idea of not falling for stories that make you resentful, deceitful, or arrogant. These stories shape our psyche and actions, so it is important to tell ourselves the right ones. To understand the world as a narrative, we need to peel back all the layers of culture and specificity, and we are left with just a few fundamental actors: nature, culture, and the hero and adversary. The stories you tell yourself with these characters determine whether you act as a hero or an adversary, and focus too much on the evil queens and authoritarian tyrants in life can lead to resentment. Be grateful even in the face of great suffering, acknowledging both the randomness of life and one's own personal responsibility to confront it, to become the hero in one's own story. Psychologists examine suffering and find that people can overcome it in various ways, such as changing their actions, behaviors, or circumstances. Even so, sometimes suffering can seem so ubiquitous that it drives us to despair. The anti-natalist movement believes that life is inevitably filled with pain. Forcing it upon children is unfair and immoral, and the act of suicide is justified if life includes such adversity. The world is a complex place, and it can be difficult to find your psychological, emotional, and social grounding. However, if you pay attention to your inner emotional state and the social structures around you, it's possible to succeed without becoming lost or despondent. It helps to commit to a goal, avoid simple ideologies, look for beauty, and be careful about which stories you tell yourself. Be grateful for the insight and perspective difficulty can deliver, and if you remain grateful even while suffering, you may find life more bearable.
We hope you found this summary helpful in your listening journey. If you're interested in diving deeper into the topic or getting your hands on the whole book, be sure to check the description below where we've included links to the book and other related products that may be useful to you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay updated on our latest book summaries, and feel free to leave a comment with any suggestions or requests for books you'd like us to cover. Thanks again for tuning in, and happy listening.